What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video. Today is Thursday morning, so it is time for our predictions video for week 3 of the Major 3 cycle. I would say this week has got a couple of interesting matchups, and I think the sort of key theme is that we have teams like Carolina and Thieves, who are kind of teams that are sort of on the rise, and we're going to find out sort of where they match against each other and against some teams that are a little bit better potentially than them, or worse in the case of Thieves. And then on the New York side, it's a big weekend for them. They got FaZe last match on Sunday, and we'll find out if New York's still on the slide or are they going to get a rebound win this season. We've also got a fun match for Vegas to see if they can rebound from their terrible performance last week. And the Minnesota Rock are also the big week against a bunch of teams that can kind of change their current path that they're going on in this qualifier. So let's dive in, make a couple predictions, and see where we stand through 3 match days this week. So we actually didn't do too bad last week. We whiffed on this New York Carolina one. That's understandable. And then New York Seattle one, understandable. So the only real New York disappointed us, but we really nailed everything else except this Minnesota Boston match, which went to game 5 round 11, so whatever. Anyway, here is what we got. It's another 2-match Friday, so that kind of blows, but is what it is. So let's dive in. First off, we actually do have a real fun one. I actually don't think that both these matches are theoretically that terrible if LAG is a little better, but anyway, Carolina LA Thieves. So Carolina coming off, if you scroll back up here, a pretty solid week last week with 2 victories against New York and LAG. And they're playing a Thieves team that's also been playing particularly good this split. So I think this should be a real fun one. The last time these teams played, it went to game 5. So theoretically, assuming that both teams show up, we should have a fun one on the cards. Fans have this 42-57, so 43-57, which seems about right. A little bit of Thieves a slight favorite, and that is what the books have it as well. I'm looking at Bet365 right now, and Thieves have a minus 163 money line. I personally think that the over 4.5 in this series might be the play if we think this is going to go game 5, and that's what I think as well. And I will take LA Thieves in a game 5. I think Carolina have been playing better as of late, but I think Thieves have been really good in these closeout game 5 situations. I think they're going to keep the streak going with this one. Well, streak against teams that aren't Atlanta FaZe, going with this one. All right, we got the Minnesota Rocker versus the LA Gorillas. Now, the books have Minnesota as a minus 334 favorite, and I don't know with Flames coming in if that's necessarily that big of a split here. So there's a lot of value on LAG because I don't really know if Minnesota is good or not. I think it's really kind of hard to tell where they're at as a team right now. There's not a lot of value, I think, for taking maps in this one, like 3 or 4 maps, because this can swing any number of ways. I'm going to take Minnesota 3-1. I'm not super confident in this one because I don't know what LAG is going to do with Flames in for assault, and they can maybe play really good. They can play poor. I don't know. Same with Minnesota, but I think more often than not, I pick Minnesota in this matchup, and that's what I'm doing today. All right. And it's sort of the same trend. And I don't know why, by the way, not to get too off topic, but why does the league keep doing this split? There's a team that plays last match on Friday and first match on Saturday. Like, what are we thinking here? Like, why can't we swap? Like, I see why maybe they don't want to do it because in Thieves and Carolina, they'd be playing first match, but like, is that even worse than playing last match, first match? I don't know. The scheduling here doesn't make any lot of sense, and like, whatever. I think teams are getting screwed, but anyway. LAG versus Boston. There's another one I don't really know how to call because if LAG are a lot better and Boston are not a disciplined team, this one can get a little bit weird. And you see the common history amongst these franchises. They have split quite a few games, and I actually think is a huge one for champ seeding because both these teams I think are going to be fighting theoretically for that like last and final spot potentially of the 8. Now, my sense on this is that if Boston is good at S&D in this matchup, I think they have too much firepower to take out LAG. But if LAG are back to being decent at search, I think they could take a respawn and get this 1-5. But I'm going to go Boston 3-1. If this goes game 5, though, I have no idea who wins. I think right now I got a default to picking Boston, but just like with this Minnesota match, the LAG thing's a big wild card in me thinking on this one. If LAG play good against Minnesota, I might adjust my prediction day of here. All right, so we got a pretty straightforward one. Carolina versus the Toronto Ultra, and I'm gonna be honest, I assume most of the money and most of well, not most of the money, but I see most of the predictions here are 90-10, 92-8 on Toronto, and these aren't the matches where I see Toronto really faltering unless they play very poor, and I expect them to rebound off that absolute shellacking they got from Atlanta FaZe last weekend. So the under 3.5 is plus money here, and I definitely would. if it were me, I would definitely take that because I don't really see Toronto dropping a map here. The only map they could potentially drop is the second map because Toronto's S&D is a bit iffy. So that plus money you probably get for map 2 for Carolina might be also a very good betting play this week because I think Carolina's coming a little bit better search for it. But I think more often than not, I think Toronto closes out 3-0 if they sort of decide to plug the controllers on the day. I can see Carolina getting a map. That's about it. And then finally, we got Thieves versus the Minnesota Rocker. I assume it's probably Thieves oriented. Yes, it seems about right for me. It's hard to kind of read again. Minnesota, I'm not really sure if they're good or bad, even though they played pretty good last week. Because against Boston, they went to round 11, so I don't really know. But I think Thieves will probably take this one 3-2. Actually, I actually think the map 5 is a real possibility here because Thieves have a hard time closing teams out in a matchup like this. So that plus 162 over 4.5 maps I'm looking at on Bet365 right now might actually be a really good value play. Or I guess you could take the spread as well. There's some good parlay value there as well. But I think without taking a game 5, I'm going to take Thieves. All right, let's keep it moving. Vegas and Seattle. This one's an interesting one. Vegas favored, but Vegas did not play great last weekend. And Vegas have actually won surprisingly like every matchup that these two organizations have played going back to last year. That's actually surprising. I didn't realize it was so lopsided. Well, so I'm going to assume that Vegas is going to play a little bit better than this. Seattle have also looked pretty serviceable last weekend. And so when I think about this matchup, it does feel like a game 5er to me. And in a game 5 situation, who do I trust more, Vegas or Seattle? I think I'm going to say Seattle. I think I'm going to ride the Seattle surge train on this one. Might be a little bit of a surprising upset, I know. But I think if we get a distance game, a game 5er, I think Seattle take this. But I also see a world where Vegas come out much more disciplined in the respawns. And they probably play a lot cleaner against Seattle. But I don't know. I'm taking the trend from last week on this one. And thinking Seattle will take out a close one here on the last match. Now, this one, I don't expect to be close. Miami versus Optic Texas. This is a 3-0, I think, across the board. I just don't know who's going to win the 3-0 because you see the last couple of times these franchises have played, the other team hasn't gotten a map. So for me, I'm slamming the under 3.5 plus 110. To be honest, for me, but I'm taking Optic 3-0. Not overthinking this. I think the Optic guys keep it moving and grooving. They've been playing great this season so far against everybody other than line of phase. And I think Miami, they've exercised those demons from stage 1. I think they handle business here. All right, and then let's scroll down here. Our big matchup of the weekend, the one I think a lot of people are looking forward to, Atlanta FaZe versus the New York Subliners. Now, New York's been on a little bit of a slide as of late. Last week was not great, but New York has generally been kind of dominant in this matchup. Normally between these two franchises. Now, this year they have split two series they have played against each other. So food for thought there. And they both have gone to game 5. Now, the only thing I'll say, though, is right now with New York's respawn form, I don't know if a game 5 is real in the cards in this one. And I'm going to spot New York a map because I think FaZe might try sub-base here. But I just think with the control, I think with the search, I think FaZe is going to take this one 3-1. And if it goes game 5, I think New York's got a decent chance because they can be, when they want to be, a great search team and give FaZe a lot of trouble. But I just can't trust New York in their form right now. And I can also see a world that if FaZe win like a sub-base map 1, this one becomes an ugly 3-0 like last weekend was against Toronto. So I'm hoping for a better showing from New York, but I'm not really banking on it with my prediction. Yeah, just to scroll up, this is what we got. I have Thieves going 2-0 this week, so hopefully don't let me down with that. Minnesota 1-1. 0-2 week for Carolina, which is what it is. And then I got LAG going 0-2 and just being kind of bottom of the league. The Vegas-Seattle one's probably the biggest upset pick I got here this week. But, I mean, looking at the odds right now, Vegas minus 200, Seattle plus 150. It's not a huge upset in the world of things. It is fairly close as far as those matchups go. But I got Seattle in a game 5 with more ice. Those are my thoughts this week. We'll see if it pans out. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of my predictions. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.